Welcome to Unleashed, where MMA icon and power wrestling titan Dan the Beast Severn and Eric Carroll deliver a knockout punch of raw, unfiltered talk. Unleashed. Gear up. Gear up. It's beast mode.
You line or whatever.
Again, I tend to get a little bit of ADD, and when I'm sitting at these things and we're just sitting around waiting, it's kind of like going. I always pull out a piece of paper, pencil, and I'm always, dreaming up new gadgets. One of my most favorite programs to watch is Shark Tank. I like watching that just because of the business ideas that the different people try to come up with. Where do you call home right now? Where's home? What city or state?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Okay. All right. I mean, are you from Las Vegas?
No, I'm from Chico, California originally.
What was the first thing that brought you to Vegas? I mean, what was the lure to Vegas from Chico?
Well, I've moved around quite a bit for wrestling, but the last place I was before Vegas, I was down south in Rancho Cucamonga outside of LA. I lived in LA for a little bit. I went down there to live with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and we moved out of LA to Rancho, which I did really like. But I mean, I've always wanted to live in Vegas, and I more so wanted to get the heck out of California, especially during the pandemic and such. So we eventually set adrift and came out here, and it's been great ever since.
Do you miss California?
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
That was so hasty on that answer response right there.
No way. I said I would jokingly be like, I'd rather go homeless than go back to California. I mean, might as well be homeless living in California the way it's ran over there now, and freaking how expensive it is and this and that. So, and everybody goes, whoa, why don't you like California? I'm like, first of all, you think California is just LA, and you like to go to LA because you want to go to Disneyland, go to the beach, and this and that. That's all you think it is. And I go, and there's so much more than that, and everything's better over here. Everything's better over here. It's like, what? I go, dude, it's cheaper, no state tax, no traffic, especially in comparison. The airport's a breeze, always something to do. Everything comes here. Great gyms, like the most eateries everywhere, and just because it's Vegas, so everything comes here. Like, I don't know, I can go on and on and on. There's so many pluses and not really that many negatives.
No, I mean, Vegas is definitely it's a tourist type mecca to where you can find it all there, and then some. So I mean, I kind of split my time between Michigan and Arizona. I'm born and raised in Michigan, but I went to college at Arizona State, and Phoenix, Arizona to Vegas is like about a 5, maybe just 5 hours, 5-hour drive, and bang, you're there. I used to work for a weightlifting manufacturing company when I was the assistant wrestling coach at Arizona State, and basically about once a month I had to drive a load of equipment over to Vegas, like one block off of the strip, and I'd always make certain I came in, terrorized a local buffet, and then right,
yeah. So my very first, I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't do any of that, but and I still love it and all the entertainment out here. But my very first trip ever to Vegas, and I lived in Fresno at the time. Everybody's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to go out, you're going to party, you can do this and do that. I go, no. I got here, and I got a 24-hour buffet card pass, and I went to as many buffets as possible in 24 hours. That was my main goal. That's literally what I did for that first 24 hours. It was awesome.
You're making me a little misty-eyed just by talking that way there, Brian. Because, I mean, I travel from Michigan to Arizona, probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a year. It's usually, I do it the professional wrestling way. I'm always by car, and I try to make different stops. I can tell you how to travel from Coldwater, Michigan to Phoenix, Arizona, and tell you what city to go through and what buffet to hit.
Ooh.
Just that's why I travel. I actually now, because of this internet type of thing, it's like I set up different meetings as I diverse myself across the USA.
So you've done that drive, huh? From Michigan to Arizona?
1,850 miles. I know, but
doing it tomorrow.
That's a standard 40-hour drive, pending the weather or the time of year. That it could be really, really ugly. I've been on Interstate 40 during the wintertime when literally the freeway. I am like the one of just a few cars that are eking along maybe 20 miles an hour, and it's 75, but it's snow, it's blizzard, and they're literally hundreds and hundreds of vehicles in the ditches, and every tow truck possibly possible within a couple 100-mile radius is out there pulling people out left and right. That Interstate 40 was actually shut down for, I think they said 4 days. It took them 4 days to get all the people out of the ditches. That's how many people. And that was having all these rich tow trucks working, 24 hours a day.
It's funny you say that, because I think it was Grand Rapids. We did a show in Grand Rapids last year. I think it was last year. And the Uber driver that picked me up to take me to the airport the next day, we were talking about how it snowed or whatever in the black ice the next day. And there was cars left and right all off the freeway and falling off and here and there on the ditches. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So I believe it.
Yeah, no, it's people, they just have to learn. It's kind of interesting, like being out here in Arizona right now. No snow ever really hits in the Phoenix area, so it's kind of like when it's unheard of. And but if rain hits, people don't understand. You better slow down a little bit when it rains, because there's this thing called hydroplaning, as well.
Oh,
and
for sure. Well, especially too, when it floods so much here. I didn't realize like how monsoony it gets in Vegas, but then because it's desert, it doesn't absorb. It just floods everywhere. So it's crazy.
Let's get back to professional wrestling. My biggest question here, because Eric knows me, and I've had an amateur wrestling career, a professional wrestling career, a mixed martial arts career, but professional wrestling is, okay, in my opinion, the worst industry I've ever been involved in. I just wondered what truly attracted you to professional wrestling.
Well, from early on as a kid, I think you watch it as a kid too, right? And like you see superheroes on TV, like around like 5 and 6 years old, and the Hogans and the Warriors and stuff, and you're so into it. But then by the time I was 10, I just was so infatuated with it and just so enthralled with it. I'm like, dude, this is what I want to do. And I remember being a 10, like sincerely, like not just like, oh, as a kid, like make believe I want to be a superhero. It's like, no, I want to be a pro wrestler. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. You grow out of that. And then junior high came, same, in high school, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's just all I ever wanted to do. And everyone kind of like, thought like, oh, whatever. I changed my mind. I grew out of it, and also just lacked any sort of belief in me that it would happen, which obviously just fueled my passion to make it happen that much more. And I had plenty of ups and downs on the way up, and I stuck with it, and eventually it paid off, and now living the dream.
Brian, who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
So there's a different time periods, right? So like as I said, like obviously I liked Warrior. I liked Hulk, but I never loved Hulk. I never loved like everyone's favorite. Like I didn't like Mickey Mouse. I didn't like Bugs Bunny. I didn't like the number one guys. So since Hulk was like the number one guy, I liked Warrior, and I like Savage a lot as well. Obviously, I got a little older, a little more to like the actual wrestling aspect of it, as opposed to just characters. My all-time favorite, Shawn Michaels, and then at that time too, when I was like around 10, was Razor Ramon. And then there's my good friend, somebody I idolized and who helped me a lot too. And that's why I use the catchphrase "Who Betta" with Chris Kanyon. And actually, the 3 Chris's were the people I tried to like emulate my in-ring style out of as I started to train, and that was Chris Kanyon, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit.
Gotcha. I'm curious, like now in the business, getting to see the behind the scenes and the work ethic and everything else. Who would be your favorite wrestler outside of yourself now that's still in the business?
Like in this day and age?
Yes.
I mean, I guess that could go hand in hand with like who I'd want to work with too, right? In some aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like obviously my company, like Kenny Omega is phenomenal. Will Ospreay, phenomenal. Person who like low key was like probably had one of the best years last year. A lot of people don't know about, as he's not as big of a name, is Speedball Mike Bailey. That kid is unbelievable. Then obviously in WWE, I have always loved and I've always wanted to wrestle AJ Styles. That's usually my my go-to question, my go-to answer when people ask me who I want to work. And actually, he just worked LA Knight last night at WrestleMania. Not people like this, but I was tag team partners with LA Knight for years. We had a program and everything. So I've known him for a long time. And it was so cool that he was it was funny. I wasn't like jealous of him getting to WrestleMania, but I was jealous of him that he got to wrestle AJ Styles. So I was like, oh man, that sucks. So, but
AJ was gone away from Impact by the time you got in.
Yeah. I've been on a couple like TWG shows and that with him, but I've never done anything with him.
Gotcha, man. What's it been like working for All Elite Wrestling? I mean, dude, they really are shaking up the pro wrestling industry right now, and I'm glad we have an alternative to the WWE.
Oh, for sure. No, it's been great, and Tony's awesome, and you can just his passion and fandom for wrestling is over the top, and I think almost second to none. And his memory, like, dude, you can name any wrestler, like 2 wrestlers, and he'll tell you like, like, oh yeah, they wrestled in this arena in 1982 in front of 16,000 people, and they went 45 minutes and 14 seconds, and like he just knows like every detail about everything. It's insane.
That detail, wow.
So he's definitely a fan.
Oh, big time. I mean, like I remember right when we were coming out of the pandemic. And what's cool too about AEW is we're allowed to do third-party bookings and whatnot, whereas like WWE, like they own you. And I remember asking about being able to do them, because it's the whole pandemic stuff and we're loosening it up, restrictions. And I said, oh yeah, I want to work this company called Warrior Wrestling. And even that, he was like, oh yeah, I know Warrior Wrestling. Like you were the champion, you had to drop it. We tore your bicep, and you worked Jeff Cobb and blah. What? Like I'm like, how do you know this? Like this is just an indie show. Like it's absurd the amount of wrestling knowledge he has up there. I don't even know how he stores it and operates it. Plus, not only does he run AEW and have all that wrestling knowledge, but then he, that's it for the Jags and the soccer team across the globe. And it just, man, the guy's brain is just wired differently.
That's awesome, man. So I was reading up on your bio a little bit earlier, and it was talked about you being in the independent circuit. And was you managed by Percy Pringle III? Was that?
Actually, that was when I was with LA Knight, who was Sean Ricker at the time. We were Natural Selection, and Percy Pringle managed us for quite a while during that tag team reign.
To this day, the funniest wrestling podcast I've ever listened to in my life was one with Percy Pringle, and just to hear his personality and his knowledge of the business, I was curious, what was that like having that time with him?
Oh, dude, it was great. And too, what's cool as well was to see him shred on the mic and the promo, especially like not the first couple of days, not even really knowing anything about us, but also seeing it in his Percy Pringle character, not Paul Bear, which obviously everyone knows him as Paul Bear, but it was like obviously there's similarities like in his voice one, but it was still pretty substantially different. And I was like, oh man. And he was the nicest guy, real sweetheart. So it was definitely cool to be able to work with him and not take that experience for granted.
That's really cool. So you worked for the WWE, was it 2 different times in your career?
So I got signed back in like 2008. So I worked through in 2008, 2009, and their developmental league, which is NXT now, but at that time it was called FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling. And I had to change my name to Chris Logan, Chris for Canyon, who I mentioned earlier, then Logan for Wolverine. It's a big Wolverine fan and the Sideburns. But I worked there, and then I got released, and then I got signed back, and then I got my contract rescinded, which was a whole nother issue in freaking ball game. But things ended up how they're supposed to, so can't complain.
Yeah, it's just one of those industries that you kind of have to go with the flow at times. It just
that's what it is. And actually, I was going back and forth with my contract was coming up last year with AEW, and I was going back and forth with WWE and AEW with my agent, trying to see where we should fit. And there's pros and cons to both. And a big reason, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but like a big reason to stay with AEW was the fact that there was a lot more certainty, so to speak. Like, it's not necessarily a guarantee contract, but more like, for lack of a better term, the contract was essentially guaranteed compared to WWE's, which is, I mean, I could be signed there today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? So right. I thought about it, and I got a lengthy term with AEW as well. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Either way, I was like, professional. Like we just had another kid too. My son's about 4.5 months old now, and I have 2 other kids. But I was just thinking for not just professionally, but personally, I'm like, for the security, for the length of the contract, and comfortability as well. We're already there. Things, you're used to it. Like I was like, yeah, if it's not broke, maybe don't fix it. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's best just to stay here and stay put and to make the best out of it. And I do, going back to Tony being such a fan and such a good person and everything else. It plays a big role into that, and the way he takes care of his talent and treats his talent and thinks about his talent as actual human beings. Whereas, not to sound negative crap on WWE, and obviously, Paul, Triple H in charge of it now is making a lot of changes, but for the longest time, it's kind of looked at as like you're almost just cattle in WWE, and once they don't need you, they're like, all right, see you later, get the hell out of here, we don't need you. Where they don't really care as much. Whereas like AEW definitely seems like they're a more tight group and family, and like if something was to happen, like I mean, we've had a couple people pass while under contract, and Tony still paid off their contract to their family and is taking care of them and stuff, which is pretty unheard of. So there's just a couple examples of like how he really cares about the people on his roster.
No, that actually sounds fantastic. It'd be compared to, like I said, work for WWE. I work for them. I work for all kinds of different companies through the National Wrestling Alliance, NWA. So
yep.
And I mean, no two promoters really are ever going to be the same. But you got some that you chalk them up as too good, and some that are so.
Let me ask you. You said that it was the worst part of it for you out of everything you've done. What? How come? Why? What's your take on it?
Well, I say it's the worst industry only in the aspects that you're. Well, again, I did not understand the industry all that
sure.
well when I first came in. I went right from. I only started doing professional wrestling as of the 1992 Olympics. I got involved into professional wrestling first, and then by 1994 got involved into mixed martial arts. And I only had probably just a couple months worth of training before I had my very first match. So again, I was rather naive about things, but then I did so. I started getting all kinds of recognition through the UFC. And then when both WCW and WWF heard that I had professional background on top of that, they both came after me right away. So I was put into a good position to where, I mean, I basically signed, made up my own contract in the deal, but I was naive to the business in the sense of I could have had a lot more control over my character of what
Gotcha.
I proceeded. The best way to probably utilize me, I'm not going to be a promo type of guy. Jim Cornette understood that, and I don't know how I ever got stuck with Jim Cornette, but I did, and he was great to work with because he knew I wasn't going to be the promo type of guy. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to let my wrestling speak for itself, and I'm not going to sit there and just go blah 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 and do all this kind of stuff. That's just not me.
I do get too. You said you were more naive about being in control of your character. Yeah, because people don't realize that too. Like, I mean, obviously you can like get yourself over as like much as you can, but realistically, like, I mean, I always feel like if they don't want you to get over, then like definitely like they can stop you from getting over. If they want you to get over, then it's easy. They just get you over, and you can't really control your booking aspect. There's
right.
Certain fans will complain about stuff, or whether it be for me or for whoever, as if we have 100% control of what we do at all times and how we're going to do it or what we're not going to do. I'm like, it doesn't really work that way. I mean, you can go out there and try to do what you can to try to get over, but I mean, as far as your overall presentation of like any storylines you get or matches you get or just your overall booking, like it's kind of in the fate of whoever's in charge of you. Dude, that's not in like if WWE or even AEW, if we're doing like a loop, it's it'd be like Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, so it's kind of within the same area. These shows would be like Washington, like Seattle, then Florida, then New York, then Texas. So you're flying and traveling everywhere in different time zone every day, and people don't get that too. Like sometimes more than the gym or the ring and the bumps, it's the travel that just beats your body up, and you just feel like a zombie from it. So
I'm familiar with that. I did like 43 states in 1 year a couple of years ago, and I was like, I never want to see an airplane or a suitcase again. I mean, it wears you down, man. I was going to ask, I mean, obviously you're a really fit guy. How is it keeping yourself in shape doing that much travel? That's got to be rough.
Somebody was just asking that too. I was just talking to somebody actually in the gym now, and over the weekend during WrestleMania and stuff out in Philly, and we were in Boston beforehand for AEW, and I'm actually, I think, more disciplined and like on track when I'm on the road than when I'm at home. I mean, I still am when I'm home, but like once I clock in, like I clock in when I go to the airport, and then I have like I'll prep all my food, I'll bring all my supplements, I weigh everything out, I have it all there. So now I only have what I have. So I'm gonna make sure I consume all that, only that. I'll let anything go to waste, and then two everything's structured around like, if I'm like, okay, I get in at this time, I'll go up, I'll go to bed at by 2 a.m. or whatever because of the time zone difference. And I'll get up at 8. I'll do fasted cardio. I'll eat. I'll go to the gym. I'll freaking get to the show by call time, and so I have it all structured and laid out. Like I'm such a meticulous planner, which you kind of have to be. And yeah, I'm just go on that. And I don't. If I ever have any free time on the road too, if I'm not in the gym, I'm usually getting some sort of like therapy of some sort too to keep me going. But yeah, I'm so like I said, I keep saying meticulous planner with it all that. And it drives me when I'm on the road. It motivates me more, and I don't know. It's easy for me, I guess, per se, because I enjoy it as well. But as soon as I come home, especially the first day home, that's where I'm more usually to like want to go binge eat or whatever, relax, and also go to the gym. But I definitely feel like I'm way more structured while I'm on the road. So even though it's not easy and it takes a lot of work, it's obviously doable. But a lot of people just go, whatever. I can't because I have to travel, and I'm on the road, so I'll grab some food on the road, and I just won't go to the gym today or tomorrow or whatever. And sure, you can have it and use it as that excuse if you want, but I mean, I'm living proof you can absolutely do it, and it's not even too challenging, but you just have to put in a little bit of effort, which I mean goes a long way and goes towards everything anyways. So
yeah, but if you want to really go someplace, you have to put in that work. You got to show that you want to be the product there as well. So it goes hand in hand. It's being home. You're there amongst your family and stuff like that. So there's going to be more treats.
Hey, man, what is that gym routine like for you? How many days in?
I'm in the gym usually 6 days a week, sometimes every day, and a lot of times twice a day too. So, I mean, I just I try to be the machine. It's on the shirt too that I am, and like. And also, it's almost like a prerequisite too, because like people always talk about my physique or how I stand out. So I feel like it's almost expected of me. I mean, if I stopped wrestling tomorrow, I would still live the lifestyle and I'd still be fit and in shape and then go to the gym and do everything I can, not only just for my preference, but also because just longevity and health and everything else. Like movement is medicine, and the more productive you are, that it helps you produce, a longer, healthier, fitter lifestyle that will keep you going and be able to play with the kids and the grandkids and so on and so forth.
Are you an early morning type person? You like get up early? If you do go to the gym first thing, or do you do something?
Do I like getting up early? No, I don't like getting up early. Hell no. But like if I have to, then I will. Generally,
again.
Sometimes I'll work out first thing in the morning. It's not my favorite. It used to be like after 2 meals, but now I think it's more so like after 1 meal. So like a late, like a 10:30, 11, sometimes 1:32 p.m. workouts are probably my favorite. But like, yeah, there's certain instances like yesterday I had a really, not an early fight, but a midday fight. So I got up early and went straight to the gym, fasted, and worked out very first thing. So if I have to do it, I'll make it happen. Or same thing, if I can't for whatever reason and I fly in and I'm somewhere late and it's 10:30 p.m., 11, whatever, then I'll go work out then if I absolutely have to. But it's not by choice. But if that's how it is, and that's how it is.
I feel that way myself, man. I've noticed if I'll wait until in between that 11 to 1 o'clock range, I'm just so much more productive in the gym. I've tried.
Sure, I feel like I feel like because you've had like a meal or two, so you have some calories in you. I also feel like 5 to 6 hours after you've been awake, it's kind of like your most awake state or energized state as well. And luckily too, it's usually a dead time in the gym too, so no one's in there. So that's a nice benefit as on top of everything. So it's easier to get in there and get out.
Now, outside of wrestling, do you do any mixed martial arts?
I've trained some striking over AT&T, that's the cell phone, but ATT in Florida. Especially because Dan Lambert, owns it. He worked with us several times. He's a big pro wrestling fan. So whenever I'm out there for Boca for Redcon, I've stopped over there. I've trained there, and then I've rolled around. I've done some jiu-jitsu stuff quite a bit too, and I'm a big fan of it. I enjoy it all. And I remember when I first got signed to WWE back when I was like 24. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's so cool. Do you think you'll go to UFC like after like the transition?" I think that was like right when Brock was gonna go over there. So like that's what everybody thought. Like That was the plan. And I go, no, like that's my dream's always been a pro wrestler. Why would I switch it and go to the UFC now? Like I love it and it'd be a lot of fun, but I don't have any passion or desire for it. I feel like anything in the sports or entertainment field, I feel like if you don't have the passion for it, the likelihood of you making it or being successful at it obviously is significantly lower than someone who is. So
all these years later of you being in the business, what's that passion like for you now for wrestling? Is it still just as strong as when you got into it?
it's still there. I mean, I definitely don't I'm older and I've done it for quite a few years, so I definitely feel beat up. I'm not as like I remember, when I was younger, I was so carefree and I'd take anything and everything, and I'd want, you're just so gun ho about it all now. Now it's like, well, let's see, does that make sense? But no, it's still there, and it's whenever I get like a really good match or good opportunity, it gives you that fire for sure. And like even what's cool about us being able to take third party bookings with AEW is sometimes like there'll be a really cool match or unique match that you wouldn't get to have that and that's like even when someone tries to book me, the first question I ask is who am I working, because regardless of what they're paying me or whatever, I want it to be a fun match. I want to get on that plane excited and have that drive and have that wrestling high that I'm looking for, that fix I'm looking for. I don't want to get in the plane going, why did I take this damn booking? I just want to stay home. You know what I mean? So like at one point in time, I had to take every booking, and I wanted to take every booking because I loved it, and also just to hustle and grind and make as much money as possible. But now that I'm allotted the fortune not to have to do that, then I only want to take it if it's really going to be worth it to me. And then, like I said, more so than any financial gain, I want that wrestling passion. Like that's all we're really chasing. That feeling that you get after you have a phenomenal match, and then you're talking about it, and you're trying to go to bed, you can't, you're reliving all the spots and all the highs and the crowd and that's what we're all really chasing and why we do this for. So and equally, we have a really shitty match and you're like, man, that was just awful, and like it makes you feel horrible. So it's definitely a fix. And for a while there, when a lot of people would get cut from WWE and there'd be a lot of deaths, especially like overdoses or suicides, I was always kind of thinking like, you go from living your dream and getting these highs every night to chasing that high at some, little small gymnasium or whatever else that never really feels the same. So I feel like a lot of people almost resort, to different drugs and different things, trying to recreate the high that they've lost. And that usually sends them on a downward spiral to, whether it's an OD or whether they just become depressed and then take their own lives or whatever. And, doesn't mean that I'm right, but that was always kind of like how I saw it, how I felt like I could see how that, could be definitely a damaging thing that would affect a lot of people who don't know how to cope and can't get that high they used to get from wrestling and living their dream. Like once it's gone, like, oh, how do you go back to like a quote unquote normal life kind of feel?
Well, it's got to be hard too with the baby at home. I imagine that definitely puts some weight on the shoulders to be at home more as well.
Oh, for sure. Well, this is our third. Well, mine and Melissa's second child, my third child altogether, and yeah, and I had my first son when I was really young, and it was funny. Not only would I be missing a lot for wrestling avenues, it also at the same time really fueled my passion to really, really freaking make it. Not only to help provide for it, but also I wanted to be like my own example for my son, that you can do anything you want, to kind of, inspire him and, for lack of a better term, I guess, be his hero. I'm like, look, whatever you want to do, let him tell you can't do it. Like I heard that all the time and look what I did. So it really helped motivate me to make things happen. So I asked, do you still keep up with any modern day pro wrestling or MMA?
No.
Not at all, huh?
No, I never did in the first place. Even when I was, I said earlier, I worked for the NWA, but I did not have any exclusivity with the NWA. Same way with WWE. When I worked for them, I had no exclusivity. I could work for anybody and everybody, and I did. And I was much like yourself. I wanted to know who I was going to work with and what the promoter was looking for, because if I'm running with the NWA title, I can't be simply, losing to nobodies,
Sure.
So
what about MMA? Did you watch the
process?
Did you keep up with any UFC at all or anything?
No, I mean, I knew about it, I'll say sort of vicariously, but it's kind of like, being in the UFC Hall of Fame, I get free tickets to go to any of the shows I want to. And the out of they're coming up on their 30th year anniversary of the UFC. I might have been to 5 or 6 shows ever in all those years. I don't get me wrong. It's like I enjoyed it when I did go because I went there once with 2 of my sons, and I actually watched it more through their eyes because it's kind of like going, if you go do something like to a professional thing, people are going to be globbing onto you and things of that nature. To me, it's like going, there's sometimes I just want to be just Pops or just Dan
Sure.
and just blend on in. You don't want to be that star character.
I get you. So there's nobody that you're did you
No, I'm aware of different things that are happening, like what's happening, like John Jones is in the limelight again, but not in a good way, but then the Conor McGregor who you just got done shooting, the new Roadhouse movie. I'm aware of different things like that, and it's stuff that keeps coming across in either emails or quick little clips that I see on Facebook, that people will send me. So
I mean, either when you were competing actively, fighting, or even anytime afterwards, was there anybody that you enjoyed to watch that you were a fan of?
I mean, honestly, the MMA thing was really just it was a career that made money. I did not enjoy fighting. It was something I was good at, but it's something that I did not really enjoy. As a matter of fact, there's actually a number of my matches where I always tell people, just watch this match. I go, I had more opponents would tell me afterwards, and they would say, that was the kindest beating I have ever received. Because, I would have the upper hand, and I could have just simply just throttled them. I'm thinking, but why? I don't have to throttle them. I literally, there was times that I would raise up my fist like I'm about to do a big old hammer strike to the face, and they would put up a hand to block, and I just push the arm across, and I would lock in a nice little scarf choke. Then little tap out, match is done, and literally, I have actually had on several occasions where my opponent said exactly those words. That is the nicest beating I have ever received.
That's a quote right there. That's good. That's real good.
I was an athlete that I loved football, Brian. I really did love football a great deal. I mean, it's that was like what I call crash, bang, boom. Every 30 seconds, crash, bang, boom, loved it. But it's like when I chose my career of amateur wrestling, I knew that being on a team sport, football, it's all based upon the 10 other players that you are playing with on the field. If someone misses a block, someone misses a tackle, you're going to lose. And I love football, but it's kind of like what I chose by my senior year in high school. I just, upon graduation, I chose wrestling as my sport to put all my eggs in because I control my outcome. The team can lose, and I can still continue to go on. And I chose amateur wrestling, and literally that is my foundation that opened up the doors for me for my professional wrestling career and my cage fighting career.
So did you enjoy that though when you did that, the amateur wrestling?
Oh yeah, no, I loved amateur wrestling. It was, I mean, Brian, that was my domain. Amateur wrestling was just that thing that, I became a whole different person. I mean, literally, if I walked out onto that mat, you were trespassing on my piece of real estate. I'm going to chase you off that mat, and I'm going to beat you. But I'm not just going to beat you. The ultimate victory in amateur wrestling is the pin. You see very few pins on a collegiate level. And that is one of the sad things about the sport on a collegiate level. It just, you see like one guy gets a takedown and then they're trying to just milk it out for riding time. Whereas on a high school level, I'd rather watch high school wrestling than collegiate wrestling, just because in high school wrestling, at least you're seeing pins taking place.
Sure.
So, and pin is, as I said, the ultimate victory. If you pin somebody, the next time you face them again, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, is he going to pin me this time again?" There's already negative. You own them at that point, and that's one thing that I liked about amateur wrestling. And it's also been some of the best relationships I've had over the decades. Guys that I was on a high school team with, I'm still in contact with them. Guys I was on college team with them, still in contact with. Guys on international teams doing freestyle Greco, still in contact with. It's just one of those sports that I tried to even have my own children go into, just because I knew it would make them into better people.
Sure.
So again, that's my big 2 cents on that. I mean, I anymore when you see how lazy younger people are, it's pretty sad, because I mean you just see how heavy set most kids are and it's kind of like going, well, gee, let's do away with some of these Snicker bars and some of this junk food, and let's get them out there and playing on the playground here once again. So we live in a very sedentary society.
Very much so, yeah. Especially with kids and all the electronics and video games and everything else. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Brian, what was like the main differences between AEW and WWE as far as being in the ring? What would you say the biggest difference in like the styles and the lifestyle would be?
I mean, the biggest difference in the styles of the matches were, I feel like, with AEW, it's almost like, whatever time limit you have, you almost try to go out there and have like the best match you could possibly have. Whereas in WWE, you still want to have a really good match, but depending on where you are on the card, you're kind of like limited to like what you can and can't do. Because so for instance, if you're match 3, you can't go. Even if you could go out there and have a way better match than the main event, you got to kind of dumb yourself down to make sure the main event is still the best match of the night. That's kind of how I see it. Whereas in AEW, it's like, no, go have the best match you can possibly have, and it's the main event's job to have a better match.
Yeah, no, that's a good scenario right there. No, it was there would be times when I would be in the arena and they had a chalkboard out there, knowing that, okay, you may or may not wrestle yet that evening. If one match goes too long because someone cut a promo too long, their match went too long, they just pull out an eraser and you're gone.
No, and we saw that too, where like a lot of times we don't know stuff until 2 hours before show. So like you were just kind of like waiting, like and even you're gonna have a match, like it's pre-announced the week before, you may not know anything about the match, when you're gonna go on, how long, any details until an hour or two before too. So it's a lot of people do have that misconception too, that they think that we know everything and that we sit there and go through it, for multiple days, like a Circus Soleil performance and choreograph it all. I'm like, dude, no, a lot of it you don't find out anything until like right beforehand. You go out there and you just make it happen.
Okay, what about some of the guys that you actually did matches with? I mean, if someone was calling like a kind of a crazy spot, were you just good to go with most of the stuff, or did you say hey, or offer up something different to them?
I mean, if it's on the fly, which no one's ever called something super crazy on the fly, I don't think I've ever said no. There's been a couple times now, like when I was younger, I never said no almost, and even now, there's plenty of times I probably should have said no, but I'm like, I'm too selfless, like in that regard. That's probably my biggest like critique of myself. Like I'm like, wrestlers love it, but like certain people are like, dude, you're too selfless to a fault. Like you need to be more selfish and say no, or this, that, whatever. Matter of fact, I mean, I took a move I should have taken, and I didn't really want to take, but I was like, whatever, don't be a pussy. And it tore my lat and my teres major off the bone, the freaking very first show of the year this year. So that probably wasn't. And I even told myself, I literally said to myself, like, Brian, just say no. You're gonna take this move. You're gonna get hurt, and then you're gonna be pissed off and ruined out of the gym and blah 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 blah. And I was like, no, don't be a baby. You'll be fine. And exactly what my first intuition was absolutely right. So, but now there's been a couple crazy drivers, like like a head type of driving kind of move, where somebody like will kind of pitch to me, and then I'll ask, well, can you give it to me? Like, because like I do a couple crazy, like I do this what's called the standard screwdriver, which a lot of people are pretty afraid of, but they're usually pretty trusting as far as my size and my ability to give it to them without killing people. And so when I ask people that, I'm generally like, hey, look, I'm not like a lot of these guys are small these days. Like I'm not a small guy, so can you give it to me, without killing me? And then I've had people go, and I go, well, look, if you're not confident on that answer, then I don't think I'm confident on taking it. So I was like, let's just go ahead and come up with something else.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about before. Just that there's some guys that they're only as good as what they continue to hone their skills at. When they stop going to the gym and they spend more time drinking, smoking, and do other things, you have to put your body into their hands and pray to God they know what to do with your body, because if they screw up, it's not them who gets hurt, you get hurt. And that's what I noticed on different types of shows, and some of the people that I had to work with was like going, they might have been sober at the beginning of the show, but by the time our match is getting closer, it's like going, dude, we need to change this match now because you're not in the condition to handle my body safely.
When I was first coming up through California and the Indies too, it blew my mind. So like I graduated high school only 155 pounds. And before I was going to go to any sort of wrestling school, I'm like, I got to beef up. I got to gain some muscle. I want to go in and look the part, be the part, and also show like, look, I'm serious. I'm not showing up being like, oh, I love wrestling. I want to be a wrestler. Because there's a lot of people I've been at seminars with or training schools that come in and, God bless them. They maybe they have the heart, the passion, and just absolutely love wrestling, but not only not in shape at all, but also they have no athletic bone in their body. It's like, bro, like just because you know how wrestling works doesn't mean you can be a wrestler.
But come on, Brian, they're a gamer. They played it all their life. Come on, they're a gamer.
but on top of that, I was like, no, before I even train, I got to get in shape. I got to, whatever. And then I remember the very first, through one of the schools I was training at, I went to this wrestling loop weekend. Like I didn't wrestle at all. I just was coming, the meet and greet, sit up the chairs, do my green boy stuff. And I remember my trainer goes, "Oh, so what'd you think, guys?" And I didn't even mean it as an insulting comment. I mean, obviously it came out that way, but I was like, "Wow, nobody really likes to work out in the Indies, huh?" Like I was just blown away. I'm like, how are all these guys like? And I say this in my seminars all the time. I'm like, everyone talks about how bad we want it, how much we love it, and this, that, just like I did. And I'm like, yet I just said I didn't want to go to wrestling school until I started to look the part, and show that I'm serious. I'm like, you can't control if you're booked. You can't control how you're booked. You can't control if you go over. You can't control so much in this business. The one thing you can't control is how you look physically and your wrestling gear, how you present it in that regard. That's literally the only thing you really can't control. And to be honest, in my opinion, that's probably the easiest thing out of everything there is in the wrestling industry as well. So when the one thing you can control, and to me the easiest, doesn't mean it is easy, but the easiest thing out of everything, you slack on, but then you talk about how much you want it. Well, then how much do you really want it then? Like it blew my mind. And then when I'm doing these indie shows, we're all getting paid $20, freaking starting out. I feel like everyone wanted to get together and just get drunk and high more than actually wrestle. And I'm showing up, with my bag full of meals and my protein freaking bag, and I'm going to the gym and I'm being all dedicated about it, and I want to have the best match possible, and I'm driving in from work, and I'm driving home to go back to work, to drive back out to go to another show, and I'm on that hustle and that grind, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to make it. And everybody else is acting like they're freaking a rock star. I'm like, bro, you're 30, you've been doing this for 10 years, and you're still making $20, and you're just worried about hanging out, smoking and drinking with your friends. Like, you don't really want it. I mean, hey, and that's what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Then go ahead, have your fun, but don't sit there and try to act like you love this business. You're trying to make it. And you're this hard vet and blah 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 blah. Or get mad when somebody else makes it that actually puts forth the actual effort to make something happen. When you're just doing the bare minimum, hoping someone comes, knocks on your door, and just offers you a contract. Like it doesn't work that way.
Dan was talking about the gaming, and I've seen several videos of you dressed up as King from a game called Tekken.
Oh, yes.
Please give me the backstory, because I'm a huge Tekken fan. I was a martial law player, and I had to fight against King all the time, but it got my interest.
Well, martial law, you're only doing that because you're being cheap, because martial law and Eddie are the two easiest characters to play with.
I've heard it all.
You just smash X and O, and then you hit all the combos in the world. But so like when I said going back to getting yourself over, right? I can control how I'm booked, how I'm portrayed, what opportunities I can. But whenever I do get any opportunity, I try to make the most of it. So if you look at today's audience, as we we're just saying, they're all gamers, right? So especially the AEW crowd, I feel like the vast majority of them are a bunch of nerds, so to speak. And I'm not even trying to be insulting to them. I get it because I'm a big nerd. I love Marvel stuff. I love video games. I love all that stuff. So I feel like I'm the total antithesis to them. Like I'm the enemy, right? I'm the big freaking roid raging jock bully that's going to put him in the locker and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, forget this guy, get him out of here. Or he belongs in WWE, whatever. So then I feel like, oh, okay, look, if I show him that I'm one of them, I'm just jacked. I feel like I instantly win them over. I mean, just coming out there as king. And I've had, the Streets of Rage gear and the Sting gear and all these different ones. It's funny. I hate Brian Cage. He sucks. And then I just put a cape on. And they're, oh, I love this guy. He's my favorite. I'm like, literally all I did was put a cape on. And so that's the kind of way to kind of sneak into it. But yeah, no, I have more gear that I haven't got to wear yet. And I was waiting forever to debut. Like I had that king gear for freaking, I think, a year and a half before I finally got to use it. And somebody drew me up as a picture of King with King's gear like forever ago. And it was such a cool graphic. And I sent it to my friend who gets gear for me in Mexico. And I was like, hey, dude, do you think you'd make me something like that? And then, a while down the road, he got it made. And like I said, it sat in my my quote unquote gimmick room for I think like 18 months or so before I finally got to use it. But yeah, no, I love it. And coincidentally, it was decent timing because Tekken 8 just came out like a month prior. So that was kind of cool. Right.
Yeah. So you're a big Tekken player?
I am. Tekken Tag is my favorite game. That was the first game I got on PlayStation 2 and I played the hell out of it.
I haven't got to play Tekken 8 yet, but it looks pretty badass.
I mean, I played Tekken 2, Tekken 3 on PS1 too, but I actually just got Tekken 8 a couple weeks ago finally. It's so funny because I barely, even though I like video games so much, I barely play them. Every now and then there'll be one game that'll get me going, so I beat it, but more often than not, I'll play games for a little bit. So like, I'm never in a hurry to buy a game.
Yeah.
Because I may not even play it, or if I do, I'll play it, once and then never again for forever. Like there's been plenty of times with PS3 and PS4 games where I bought them right when they came out, and I didn't even play them until they were, $20 at the store. I'm like, I could have just waited and bought the game for $20 because I never played it anyway. So, but I actually just bought this sweet arcade setup from Phantom Arcades on Instagram. He's always asking me to plug his stuff. It's going to be legit. It's going to take a while to get, but it's awesome. He's actually been making a lot of custom arcade builds for a lot of the wrestlers. And I'm a huge Evil Dead and Army of Darkness fan. So the whole arcade box is going to be Evil Dead themed. And then it's going to have every fighting game and arcade game on there. Then it's going to have like every console up to PS3 and Xbox 360 and the light guns and this, that, whatever. It's going to be pretty legit. And I'm sure I'll play it once every 6 months, but it'll be awesome to have.
I got you, man. Well, tell us what do you got coming up in the future, man? What can we expect out of Brian Cage in the upcoming years?
The years. Hold on. Let's just start with next week. But well, we got Dynamite. I'm actually staying home this week to take care of some business. But so next week I'll be in Indianapolis for Dynamite, and then I have a big indie match against QT Marshall. Those from AEW, which actually QT Marshall does not get the respect he deserves for how great in the ring he is. He's a really good trainer too, and I'm actually really looking forward. When I said matches that matter, I'm actually really excited to have this match with him, and to be able to go out there with like no real time constraints either will be a lot of fun. And then we'll be over at Dynasty for the pay-per-view on the 21st in St. Louis, where my teammate Swerve is going against Samoa Joe for the world title, and I should be on the opening card before that. And then all building to Double or Nothing out here in Vegas, the hometown, Memorial Weekend, which is always a great show. It's kind of like one of their it was their first show. I wouldn't call it WrestleMania. I'd call it more like their SummerSlam, if you will, if you want to relate it to WWE. But yeah, it's just a great weekend that weekend. There's a great tour in Australia that I do all the time. So my 10th tour. I'm a Hall of Famer out there. World Series of Wrestling. It's one of the most professionally and just most fun ran things I've ever done in wrestling. I absolutely love it. And Australia itself. Have you ever toured Australia, Dan?
It's a great country. I've been there about 4 times now. That big country. I love to go back again too. But going to New Zealand, you're so close. You should go to New Zealand.
You know what? Too, I've never been to New Zealand, and it's funny. As a kid in 3rd grade, I was such a big Taz fan. Taz from Tasmania and from Warner Brothers, and I've always wanted to go to Tasmania. And there's nothing really there, and it's actually also to be so close to Tasmania and never go there. And I always rib the promoter. I'm like, bro, we should do a show in Tasmania. That'd be amazing. trying to just get him to fly over there. But I am going there a few days early this time too, because most of the tours are usually like go, 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 go. Like you might have one day we get there, but then like it's shown in a different city every single day. And it's great. It's fun. This last tour we did in October last year, it was like 2 weeks, and we had a couple of days off here and there, which was nice. But being over there so much and through the fitness industry and whatnot, I've made several friends. So I'm going to go out there a few days early to go ahead and make the rounds before we get going and not stopping until the tour is over. But yeah, one of my favorite that and Japan are I mean, I've been to so many countries, and I mean obviously like yourself, but I think Australia and Japan are probably my two favorite countries I've been to for sure.
Japan, just the audience there, they just have a greater appreciation for professionals. And you didn't, if it's your first match ever, you're kind of like going, they're not making any noise. It's a very quiet crowd, but they're studying the match, and then all of a sudden, in unison, they're all together. Oh,
yeah, and then we can do the golf clap and stuff. But it's so great. It's so heavily respected there. But just as a country's its own, like everywhere I've been, there's always like familiarity or similarities rather, to the U.S. or any country, whether it be Germany, UK, even South Korea, so on and so forth. But I felt like Japan felt like a different world, not just like a different country. Like it was so unique, and there's so many different things there. So it made it, outside of just the wrestling aspect, really, really, really cool. But yeah, I absolutely love Australia. It's so beautiful, so many cool animals. And then obviously too, it's essentially America, just in a different country. So obviously it's easier to get along because everyone speaks English and everything else. So it's not like a true foreign country. Right. But yeah, and then moving on in a couple years, hopefully I need to get not just a title, but I definitely need to have the world title around my waist before I call it said and done. I mean, take a look at me, and I don't think like it takes that much effort or work to make me stand out as a superstar. And I feel like I've done pretty well everywhere I've been. So hopefully that comes to fruition, because I don't know why it shouldn't. And I don't think anybody could tell me a good reason why it shouldn't either. So.
No, I like your attitude that you have with it, Brian. You have a great attitude. You got a really impressive work ethic, and I don't normally see that in professionals. And so you're already a standout in my eyes. So I look forward to nothing but great things probably happen your way. But what are some? Do you have some different social media outlets that people can tell us about that Eric will post as well?
Yeah, sure. Obviously there's good old Instagram, which is how we originally connected, on just Brian Cage. And then there's Mr. GMSI Brian Cage on X, no longer Twitter. You can buy Brian Cage merch on prowrestlingtees.com/Brian Cage. And that's all my shirts as well as the AEW official shirts. And then I don't know when this will come out, but this Thursday I'm actually doing my first Whatnot event. This is pretty cool though. Like it's like a virtual signing thing, but it's almost like an auction and just like selling like meet and greet deal. And there's this big Whatnot con going on this weekend, and I'm finally, I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and they invited me to be one of the premier guests, and so I'm looking forward to that, and to selling and auction off some of my used gear, some of my I have so many. Like I said, I'm a nerd, so I have a bunch of collectibles and toys, and some stuff that I will love and will never get rid of, and there's some stuff I probably need to make room for, or that the wife would prefer that I get rid of. So I'm doing that, and that should be fun as well. But yeah, so she also doesn't know about that arcade coming either. So we're gonna have to figure out where we're gonna put that.
You said that's called a Whatnot Con?
Yeah, Whatnot. Yeah, and I found about not too long ago, but it's really cool. And like a few different wrestlers have been extremely successful on it, and it is pretty neat. Like where you can just go in there, and then there's streams going on all the time. It's live streams, but like people are just selling all kinds of different vintage stuff, collectible stuff, whether it's records, baseball cards, sports cards, Pokemon stuff, Marvel stuff, shoes, like Louis Vuitton, all kinds of stuff. It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
I have enjoyed about going to professional wrestling Comic Cons and things of that nature. Just I like to take a couple laps around the place just to see all the things, just like I'd like a kid in the candy store myself. So
absolutely. Like I always say, I jokingly, whenever I'm booked at a big comic convention, I go, I bet you I'm the only like brought in guest that spends this much money back on the back on the actual convention itself. So I'll walk around with, oh, what is that? Oh, that's cool. And then the plus factor, which really looks out, is when you go to like a vendor who's a fan or knows who I am, and then I can usually get a pretty good deal on stuff. So
yeah,
Oh,
that's a nice
awesome.
perk.
yeah, of course. They're like, oh yeah, man, that's 50. Oh, are you Brian Cage? Yeah, man. If you give me a picture, I'll give it to you for 20. I'm like, all right, deal. Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah,
The work ethic too, it's, and it does. I mean, it's not going to stop. It's just in me, and I feel like some people just have it or you don't. But it is crazy to see, without naming names or bearing anyone, it is crazy to see the people that don't have it and that do get, like pushed or used very well, and it boggles my mind. When it's like, what? How could like I'm out here, like my first and last thought of my whole chasing this dream has been everything of how to make myself better in every single way, as far as, in the ring, outside of the ring, promo, character, physique, everything. And like when I feel like so many people are, quote unquote, lazy about it, and then have become successful, it's just like, what? It just, I don't know, it just blows my mind. It's like, how could this person have nowhere near, even if they have that same passion? Like, and if you have that same passion and desire, I don't know how you don't have the work ethic. To me, it goes hand in hand. But I mean, I guess not everybody's cut from the same cloth. So.
No,
I mean,
exactly right. I mean, a lot of people they talk a pretty good game, but I mean, it's you're living proof. I mean, and I like everything that you've said. So I wish you nothing but the best for your future. And rest assured, I'll be checking in to make certain that you're doing what you said.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. And I'm sure I will see you sooner or later again at another convention or wrestling event or some sort. So.
Yes, sir.